The breaking news is that President Trump is in Washington, D.C. He is meeting with President Biden, and an occurrence for the press just happened. This is not a very long clip, but this is all they provided, but I want to make sure you see it to start this off, as they have a very cordial, if not awkward, conversation. But here is President Biden meeting with President-elect / former President Trump in the Oval Office today. A very surreal visual. I don't think any of us really could anticipate what this would look like. The fire blazing behind him. Take a look.
Well, Mr. President-elect and former President, and Donald, congratulations. And looking forward to having like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
Good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much. And thank you very much. And politics is tough. And it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. And a transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Chaos kind of broke out as they tried to ask some questions, but that was it. President Biden, again, meeting, having a very cordial conversation with President Trump. All smiles, by the way, ear to ear. I think we can't discount that. There's been a lot of talk of whether Biden has been, secretly a little bitter, obviously, on all the things that went down. There's also some reports that the pick of Harris, when he endorsed Harris, that was not something that Pelosi and that team had planned on, that they had planned on a open primary. And then 30 minutes after his announcement, he dropped that tweet that said, hey, or X post said, hey, I'm endorsing Harris. And apparently that caused a lot of chaos. That's all just reports. No one's confirmed that. But you can kind of feel that tone. There is the conversation, though, of it being a smooth transition. I feel like each time they say that is a bit of a dig. Obviously, we know what happened in 2020, 2021. Maybe not the smoothest of transition. But I guess that will be determining whether you see President Biden showing up to the inauguration. What is that going to look like? And it should be an interesting couple months.
That's right. And this meeting is a traditional meeting where the incoming president meets with the current president to discuss transition, other items that they may decide to talk about. This meeting did not happen in 2020 after the election when Joe Biden won. President Trump did not have this traditional meeting because he was contesting the election still.
It went on and on.
Exactly. So this is a return to this meeting after it not happening 4 years ago. But what you did see there was a Joe Biden that looks unburdened by what has been, to borrow a phrase from the current vice president. He had smiles. He seemed very relaxed, and I think he's probably just ready for this all to be over.
Let's go ahead and take some more phone calls. Let's go to Charles, who's calling in Washington, listening on the radio. Charles, you're on the air.
Yeah, I'd like to know your opinion about as far as the Democrats using the 14th Amendment to the point where President Trump would not be president.
Sure. There's obviously always going to be rumblings of this. I think when you have a President Biden out there saying, hey, keep reminding people that he wants this to be a smooth transition, I think they are trying to, maybe the establishment, if you will, in Washington, D.C., is trying to make sure this does not happen.
The biggest source of this question was from Jamie Raskin back in February. This was before the Supreme Court released their opinion on getting Trump off the ballot that Colorado tried to put forward, the 14th Amendment question. And he had said at Busboys and Poets, a very famous location to hear liberals talk in D.C., that it'll be up to Congress to enforce the 14th Amendment if the Supreme Court doesn't vote the way that they wanted them to. He has since kind of quieted down on that, but that is where the anxiety around that comes from. Now, do I believe that we will see many not Republicans, Democrats in the House on January 6th try to object to certifying the election for President Trump? Yes, they've done it before. They did it for George W. Bush. This is not something that will be novel strategically for them. However, I think ultimately it will not happen. I don't think that the leadership of the party really want to go down that road because they have been the ones trying to push, as you mentioned, peaceful transfer of power. Yeah. And with President Biden hosting him today, that doesn't look like it's the playbook for the leadership of the Democrat Party, and so therefore I don't think that it's going to go through.
But let's play that clip from
this
Jamie
is the
Raskin.
clip where all the anxiety sourced bite 11.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means.
I mean, I forgot how wild that.
It's a wild bite.
I mean, it's so wild. It's crazy. Now that you think about the fact that there has been this major referendum where Donald Trump successfully pulled off what could be considered a landslide victory. It's a crazy thing to see. So I understand why you called in and asked that question. Now I see it even more because I totally forgot the rhetoric that was coming out in that sense. It was wild. Let's go to Daniel, who's calling and listening on ACLJ.org, which I appreciate. Daniel, you're on the air.
I haven't heard this discussed much, but a couple of days ago I heard General Flynn talking about a potential problem during the transition period.
He is not wrong. And Jordan has said this many times. This is the most dangerous period in American politics is when President Trump was elected until Inauguration Day, because the deep state will be making moves. We know that when Obama was going out of office, they stabbed Israel in the back at the UN. They abstained from a vote which on Palestinian statehood that was being put forward by the General Assembly. We know that James Comey took advantage of that period of time while they were still setting up their government to send FBI agents to interview General Flynn, as you just mentioned. So yes, they absolutely are going to try to do everything they can to try to protect themselves, protect their legacy, and make it harder for Trump's agenda to move forward. It absolutely is happening and absolutely will happen. And it's just knowing where to go to try to root that out first. And I think that the Trump team is better suited to do that this time.
The deep state, if you will, is always trying to subvert the plans of conservatives, it feels like, and of Christians. And I'm sure they're scheming to do it again. And that's why we got to continue to fight back. We just filed actually a critical brief to have Jack Smith removed from his unconstitutional political prosecution against Trump. We've heard that. We're still battling, and we're going to continue to battle for the next few months, the Biden-Harris administration, because it's going to keep piling up, as our caller said. This takes a lot of resources because they have endless resources, and we need your support. Have your gift doubled right now. Have your fight doubled right now to defend faith and freedom during our Faith and Freedom Drive. I encourage you to do that. Go to ACLJ.org and have your gift doubled.